UnDaoDu here, and it's been a while since I made a video in the car driving home. But I figured I'd make a talking about the Foundups Tokenization framework. I want you to imagine that every creator, whether it's a soap maker, a shoe maker, an artist, could have their own Bitcoin. Simply make it. And just as Bitcoin grew, it grew by what? With a network belief, with in that thing. Well, the difference between Bitcoin and a brand or a widget, there's actually something substantial, behind it. There's a brand, there's a product. Bitcoin was just an idea, and it created this, this amazing decentralized network, immutable. This, has value, and I see no reason, and no one else has provided me any reason why it couldn't be tied to Burt Bees. It couldn't be tied to Apple Computers or Michael Dell Computers or any other widget that started, or Amazon. But instead of a few people benefiting from the growth of these other closed networks, a global network where things are open. Hemp is a really good, CBD flower is a really good example. Imagine thousands of independent distributors of CBD flower that are working directly with farmers, where the product is actually tied to the blockchain, right? The testing is tied to the blockchain. The chain of command is tied to the blockchain, and even to the end user, when they scan it, they're actually tying and saying, "I have this. I have received custody." So the chain of custody, from the hemp in the field to the person who smokes it, can be documented to the lab where it's been tested. And this overcomes a lot of the problems that we're seeing with people basically putting their product in a bag, because we can show a chain of custody to that person, and then there's no custody to the other person, right? Because of the scanning of the token. The same thing with agricultural goods, with with anything, with any widget. So I want you to imagine a world with tens of millions of tokens, and the people that that help create these open brands global and take them global as collaborators, right? So it is the collaborators that ultimately build these brands. The consumer becomes collaborators. The collaborators become creators. The creators launch tokens. The tokens gain value and create a kind of UBI for all people. And the framework to make this possible is called the blockchain. And the Foundups Tokenization framework uses any blockchain simply by allowing the coders to link the token to their blockchain. So it's ubiquitous. It doesn't matter where the tokens are in the token Foundups Tokenization framework, whether the tokens are on Ethereum or whether they're on EOS or Cardano. It really doesn't matter. And I've been running some numbers to show you what the return could be for developers participating in the framework. So yeah, tell me what you think. I think I've forgotten anything. All right, I thought of something I could talk about. How would it work? Okay. So let's talk about user case scenarios. The initial product, the only person who's going to be able to mint tokens will be me as the creator, right? I'm going to get the app working the way I like it. We're working at and the easiest way to do that is do it through a web app, not through an Android app or iPhone app, because we're going to be doing a lot of iterations, a lot of A/B testing and other things. So I am the first. I am the do creator, right? I'm a level do creator, which means I have the ability to create tokens and to create issue tokens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to initially allow folks to create just one token, and the people that are going to create tokens are going to be flea market vendors. And then what we can do is track the data on how, the utility of the tokens, basically meaning are their customers, is one the person doing it, if not why, right? Why they're not. How are the customers liking it, and watching how it's growing. And we can seek if what's called the customer adoption, right? Diffusion of customer, I think low high. The next iteration is having collaborators, and there are three types of collaborators. You can imagine, for example, I'm doing with hemp. So there is the store. The store is a collaborator. So each store, or the store would be a collaborator. So that collaborator would be assigned to the owner of the store. Then there are the employees. So the employees, when they have it and when they scan, they also would receive tokens when they scan. Not always, but also they have the network. Both of them have it in the network, so they're also getting tokens every time a customer purchases. The consumer, I don't call them customer, the consumer, the collaborator, and the creator are stakeholders in Foundups. It is the consumer that drives it. The consumer is the miner. If we don't have consumers, right, it's the miners consuming the Bitcoin, right, creating the network. It's the consumers that are consuming the product, creating the network. It is collaborators is to build the network, and it's the creators that basically feed the network. So they're three very important stages. So imagine that I can assign a clerk as a type of collaborator of it, and that collaboration is tied to the owner. The owner then can actually the owner then should be able to assign the collaborators of his shop. So the shop would be a do, the clerk would be a DAO, right? And maybe a part-time employee would be an UN. Maybe the manager is the DAO and the employees are the UNs. I don't know, right? So these are the type of things that I still have to figure out. And the only way I'm going to figure it out is by actually running the test and seeing how it's working. It's basically play Foundups. We're playing a game of launching Foundups. And some things, are the other thing. Will the soap maker, because now there's a token tied to their soap, teach other people to be their soap maker, right? In the past, there's no incentive for a soap maker or a candle maker to teach someone else to be and teach them their craft. Why? Why would I do that? Well, now that it's tokenized, I have an incentive, because as a creator, right, I'm also a collaborator. And by collaborating and teaching others to do what I do, what I'm doing is building the network. And when I build the network, and I do that, every time someone duplicates me, I'm doubling potentially the value of the token, right? The intangible value. So it creates a collaboration framework where it enables and empowers people to collaborate. You know, that's something I want to test and see if that's actually true. Something else is competition. In the traditional model, there's two individuals side by side, they're in competition. Well, in the social beneficial capitalism model, all of a sudden when I have a stake in your tokens and you have a stake in my tokens and we're in competition, it's different now, because now I have an invested stake in what you're doing, because I have your tokens. If your product goes burnt bees or goes Dano, right? To go Dano means to reach level division 3, right? If it becomes a division 3 token, which means it has a value of I think $100, $10 to $100, then ultimately my 600,000 tokens in 10 years is a significant amount of return, right? And I have just 300. So the more tokens that I collect, it's kind of like a UBI, and I can watch them grow and everything else. I can encourage them, I participate. I have a vested interest in seeing these tokens in the network grow. So we're creating a collaborative framework, right? It's the open beneficial, the open collaborative framework, which is what Foundups is all about. Open startups that level up and become a new kind of entity that I call a DANO, a decentralized autonomous nonprofit organization. At that point, when you become Division 3, all of a sudden all these individual entities have a cohesiveness, right? And at that stage, we can launch our own factories, our own things with the tokens, right? So we can come together and we can actually be cooperatives. We're Danos, so you have a factory that's producing, and we're doing all the different things and getting it out to the network. So we're starting things off as kind of independent minds, same way as Bitcoin, bunch of guys, and then all of a sudden now you got these big farms, these big Bitcoin farms. Well, these are cooperatives. Well, the difference is these wouldn't be owned privately, they'd be owned by the stakeholders who have the token by staking those tokens in these cooperatives, right? And that's called staking. So that ultimately is going to come about. Other things that are going to happen is trading of tokens, right? I see in Africa, like in townships, it becoming a form of money, where a token is going to have value, and I can just do a token swap, no cost, no fee, no nothing. There's no fee, right? And using token swap, I'm generating a token. I have this UBI. All of a sudden becomes a form of capital, and all of a sudden you see another thing that's taken away from fiat. Token swapping is going to be huge in the framework. There are so many different things. I can't think of them all right now, but as I start testing and seeing these questions, I'm going to start seeing these things come out. So what am I looking for now to help me move forward? I don't need any money. I'm not looking for investors. I'm not looking for folks to put money into Foundups. I've spent 10 years trying to launch Foundups without investments, and actually nearly went down that road in 2016 when I was flown to South Africa with the Kersners, and they wanted to invest $5 million. I ended up walking from the deal. Then my dad got cancer, and it's been 3 years dealing with him. So the beautiful thing about this is I have a product, it's Foundups Hemp, and I'm building it on that, and I'm making money with that. So, and then what I want to do is first test the customer, then build the collaborator, and also launch other UnDao's, right? Uncreators. An uncreator is one that just gets one token. A DAO creator gets to launch up to 100, right? A do creator is unlimited. I'm a do creator, right? And what the goal is in October 8, 9, and 10 in Puerto Rico is to have an event, Blockfest, right? Blockfest is a I call it burning in event. And we ultimately appoint 100, creator dues, right? And everyone that attends are going to be creator DAOs. So you have your automatic creator DAO if you attend the event, and then your creator due if you go through the 3-day event. So, and it'll probably involve ayahuasca and sitting in that. So you have to be willing to take that plunge. Foundups is all built around metaphysics. There's a metaphysics around it. The entity around it is metaphysics. So, listening to the talks that I present on metaphysics. Anyway, all right. Now I'm home. Made it here. All right, I hope you enjoyed the talk. Made it home. I'm going to upload this now and share. Take care.